I would, the traditional thing for this, the moderator of this panel would start off by apologizing for keeping you away from your lunches. Now, I'm not only keeping you away, I'm also delaying your lunch, but that's, it's a double apology. Let me start by inviting the speakers who we are really here to see. Can I please invite Hemant Kumar onto the stage? Hemant brings more than 3 decades in the legal profession to the table. He currently works with Essar Group as Group General Counsel. He also has previously experienced working with Reliance ADAG. He's worked with SAIL. He's worked with State Bank of India. He has been selected as a judge of the district court, so he actually brings several perspectives and several hats to the table. Could I also invite Debolina Partap? She is Associate Vice President and Head of Legal with Wockhardt, where she handles legal corporate governance, compliance, legal strategy, risk management, litigation management, brand management, corporate finance, properties, in various geographies, the EU, Far and Middle East, Asia, the BRIC countries, and the Americas. Before Wockhardt, for the last two decades of her practice, Debolina has been with banking, pharmaceutical, healthcare, so again, a broad range of experience to the table. Sandhya Vishal, could I invite you on as well? Sandhya is Head of Legal at ANZ Bank. She provides regulatory and governance support to the bank and has previously, she's also part of the management team, which I think is significant to mention, and the founding member of the bank's Diversity Council in India. Prior to ANZ, Sandhya was with PwC and a law firm in Delhi before that. Last but certainly not the least, another Sandhya Surendran, who is legal counsel APAC for InMobi. She has previously, at InMobi, she does everything from forming new entities, processes, enforcement, conflict resolution, employment contracts, anything basically that has a legal implication. And prior to that, she was at Infosys, and prior to that, at Amarchand. So as you can see, we have a stellar panel which has different industry expertise, different years of practice, which I think is extremely significant because in many ways our panel is a logical next step to the last panel where we talked about the issues in recruiting the right talent, and now we're sort of drilling down to the specifics of recruiting and retaining the right talent of women in the organization. I would like to start, and the organizers have agreed to this, with maintaining a 2-minute silence for Nirbhaya. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. I think it's very significant. When we're talking about India today, just to set the context for the panel, it's 2 Indias. We've got incidents like what happened in Delhi. We've got domestic violence. We've got violence against women. We've got those women who have to struggle to convince their parents to let them attend college rather than or in addition to their brothers. This is happening all the time. It's by no means finished with in India. And then we've got corporate India, where you have similar struggles, but at a different level. You've got the glass ceiling, you've got the sticky floor, you've got women who are practically in equal numbers in legal departments, but in very limited numbers when you're looking at heads of department, when you're looking at CEOs, CFOs, the C-suite, boards of directors. And I think both of these Indias need to be reconciled, because they are the India where women are not able to go to college, where they are victims of domestic violence. That is the pipeline for us. It's the woman who gets to go to college and has to fight for her right to work, who is going to be able to send her daughter to law school, and the daughter is going to be sitting here in 30 years with us. It's a gradation, and we need to take into account each of those. Our panel, however, is going to focus on three issues. We have, like Jagrati, played around with our questions and brought them down to three significant questions. The first one being, what are the challenges, what are the tremors and tribulations faced by women in in-house legal departments? The second, why should this state of affairs be changed? Why should we be looking for more women actively in leadership positions? And the third, very significantly, how do we go about doing this? Let me start with, do I seat myself there? Yeah. So if I could start with the first question, which is, what is the current state of play? What is the current state of affairs in the legal profession in India amongst women, the situation of women in in-house legal positions? I think what's relevant and what's significant to me is this article that came out in The Atlantic in the summer of last year, 2012, by Anne-Marie Slaughter, who is a renowned Princeton professor and was at that point of time in Hillary Clinton's administration. And she talked about why women can't have it all. And she's been an advocate of why women can have it all. And so it was surprising to those of us who've been following about why she would write such an article. To me, more than what she actually said, what she said made a lot of sense. It's that we are making choices when we have children, who we get married to. She said, and I like this, one of the most significant career decisions we'll ever make is who we choose to marry. I think that's true. But I think more significant was the response to the article. It went viral in a matter of days. 6 days after the article came out, it was actually it had the highest number of likes on Facebook for any article till that day. The journal in which it came out actually had a higher readership than ever before in its history since its founding. And to me, this says that the question is still very significant and an open one as to what are the choices women are faced with in the legal profession. Can they have it all? Can they not? And why not? And I'd like to pose this question to the panel, starting perhaps with Debolina.
Thank you, Richa. Firstly, I'm putting some disclaimers. Whatever I speak is not official communication of Wockhardt. Second disclaimer is, of course, between me and all of us here. I would be expressing some experiences, some facts, some numbers, some views and some opinions. And if the people out here differ in views or, get charged up for some reason or disagree, my apologies in the beginning, because this indeed is a very sensational topic and a panel. Now, Richa, on the challenges, I would like to go back a little in history. In the 1600s, the Shakespearean history. We all know Merchant of Venice and the famous Portia. She had to be dressed as a man to save Antonio, and with such an innovative idea, which was within the law, is she tells Shylock, you cut the pound of flesh near his heart, but not a shed of blood to be dropped on the floor. What does this mean? A couple of things. That do, as women, whether we are subordinates or we are heads of the department, are we seen first as women, or we are just seen, like a man? Are we doing a man's job, or are we doing a woman's job, or are we taken as just lawyers? It's a very, common phrase when there is a vacancy. Get another man for the job. We never say get another woman for the job. So the biggest challenge for the woman is not perfection, but more than perfection. Because that's how society views us. If, again, I go back to Shakespeare, the quality of mercy. The quality of mercy by Portia, mercy is a quality which is akin to godliness, which is not just perfection, but more than perfection. And society, which includes men and women, views the woman as high as God. Even the Bhagavad Gita has said that your father is your God, but your mother is above God. When Lord Krishna gives the discourse to Arjuna, he says in one of his sentences, so a woman general counsel is she should not only do things right, she should not only do things in the right way, but she should do more than right. So to convince, whether it's your junior or whether it's your senior, you have to make a lot more extra effort to be at par if there was a male general counsel. This, I don't know how many of y'all experience or y'all have faced it, but definitely it has been my experience, because we just need to be more than perfect. Failure is not an option. Yes. A male general counsel, a male colleague would also say failure is not just an option. But how is it reacted upon by the people around? A failure of a woman, well, it would really not be taken well by anybody. A failure of a man, yes, I'm not saying it will be taken well, but some leverages would be given. So the biggest challenge for a woman GC is to be more than perfection. The second challenge, I'm just giving the most important challenges we face as a general counsel, is authority. As a general counsel, group general counsel, you can't say or you can't work without authority. But how do you relate that authority to people? That's the art we have to master. And I must say it's an art we have to master, because without that we cannot survive. If I have to show authority to a male subordinate, I don't mean authority in the negative sense. Let's say he puts up a note to me, and I feel there has to be a value addition to the note. I call him Tom, this needs to be added, please do it. Very nicely I tell him. How is it taken? If I told him, Tom, let's discuss this point, there are issues which we think we can discuss, deliberate. And he says, yes, ma'am, you're right. I'll put it. So authority, the relation of the authority, the way it is related, that's another big challenge to a woman general counsel, because I have been a subordinate and I have had male as well as women bosses, and both of them have addressed me differently. So authority and the way it is related, that's another very big challenge. And the third very big challenge is work-life balance. Work-life balance, I'm sure a man is a father, he's a son, he is husband, he's a brother. So is woman. We are mother, we are daughter, we are sisters, we are wives. But when we are working, we are constantly doing these roles at the same time. I can share with you, my day begins at 4 a.m. in the morning, and sometimes I don't get sleep at all. I mean, I don't manage to sleep at all because of the work-life balance. You have children, you can't say that, oh, I've got work, son, you do this. Your husband is there, your parents, your in-laws. They don't expect a discount in your duties. I am not for a second saying a man's duties are getting discounted. But a woman's duty, even if it gets discounted for 0.01%, it becomes highlighted. Now, I'm sitting here and, expressing my views. Many of you all are liking it or not liking it. After this panel over, the first thing I'll do is call up home. Hi, son, have you reached safely? How many men colleagues of us do that with their children? I think with that point, Richa, you can take it forward.
I think that's very significant, Debolina. So the Society of Women Lawyers, which is what I'm representing, I should clarify, I'm actually wearing two hats. I'm with the Mergers and Acquisitions team at Nixon Peabody in New York. But in 2009 and 10, when I lived and worked in India, I was one of the co-founders of the Society of Women Lawyers India, which is one of the sponsoring agencies, and that's the primary hat I'm wearing. So Society of Women Lawyers, SOL, we organized a conference in 2009 on the main issues that are being faced by women in the legal profession. We had law firms, general counsels, teachers, various parts of the profession represented. The top issue, hands down, was work-life balance, which is not a single issue because exactly like Debolina pointed out, work-life balance means different things. For someone practicing in New York, it means, do I get to sleep tonight? What do I do with my children? Do I have daycare? A woman practicing in Delhi said that children is not a problem. She lives with her in-laws. She's got childcare taken care of. But with the in-laws comes responsibilities. There's religious holidays. You have to maintain the fasts. And you're working. You're in court arguing without having drunk a drop of water since morning. That's a completely different challenge. But that's also work-life balance, different things to different people. What I'd like to get is Hemant's perspective, especially on the second point that Debolina raised, which is authority. You are sort of in the mirror image position where you are exercising authority to women, GCs below you, and what are the different ways in which you grapple with that?
Thank you very much. Also, I take this opportunity to claim disclaimer. It's all my personal view. It's not the view of my company. And pardon me if I tell something for the male or female, that is not my actually intention. I don't know how they have structured. So anyway, they might have gone spotlight. And another advantage with me is that my wife is also general counsel. So I've got all sorts of benefits and advantages. Anyway. Friends, you know, whether it is in the corporate sector or in the family, everywhere, if gender diversity is there, it's good for what I will say is a competitiveness. Number one is as a good sign for any organization. I'm going to share some of my experience, the actual which I have faced in my career. See, there was a day, that in Chhattisgarh, Dantewada, this all heat is 50-degree temperature. And union problem was there. And on Sunday, we had to go to the labor court and obtain a stay. I was in Delhi. And I had to request my friends, legal counsel working in the Bhilai steel plant, that go and move an application for a stay against the trade union strike. I'm telling you the truth. One lady counsel came forward. I discussed over phone with 6-7 people. Some had some Sundays, of course, for public sector, always Sunday is a holiday. In private sector, you don't have that, advantage. Otherwise, promoter will just take you lesson. So that lady took a challenge she drafted the application, moved before the court, and it was 50-degree temperature. Today, she is second man in general, as a general counsel in Tata Motors. She was with me, with Mittal also. One thing I have observed that grabbing the situation or accepting the challenge is more with my own friends, my colleagues. Pardon me. Now, coming to the negotiation part. When I was with Mittal, we had some arbitration with Thishan. I had given the task to 3 of guys that today there is an instruction from Mittal, I am talking about the steel, that we had to close this deal and we have to compromise. We are not interested in further litigation. You people will always go in fighting, going in appeal, again going to the Supreme Court. And again the same role that they are very good negotiator as per my view, personal view. 2 problems with them is that as a HOD, one has to always take care of it. And HOD should support them. Because it was my, in SAIL also, or say in Mittal or Reliance, I worked as a HOD. When at 12 noon or 1 o'clock, young general counsel receives a phone from her son or daughter, you allow him to take the phone, the mobile. Or if she asks that, have you reached the house, what she has mentioned, that should be the some sort of a, I would say, not leverage, that we should, as a HOD, we should just forgo all these things. Because once you allow all this, they will be helping you in a different way. Helping not in the sense of, but for the work, I am telling about the workforce. She will be a great contributor for your department. The other problem with them is, she has also raised that the balance between home and the workplace. That is very important. And in my view, this is the main reason we won't get a good number of senior advocates before Supreme Court or High Court. I may be wrong. Go to the Supreme Court, how many senior advocates are there? Designated I am talking, or even say having 25 years, 30 years. Advocates are there, I am talking about, pardon me, quality advocates. Now here quality, everybody had discussed about the knowledge. I am talking about the practical knowledge. Say there may be a case or situation when you won't get any advocate and you have to obtain a bail. How a bail bond is filled up. How a Wockhardt is to be filed. This sort of that training is also required. It's lacking today. The recent case of 2G, bail was granted at 3:30 by the Supreme Court. The HOD or the legal counsel should know at what time at Tihar jail there is a counting of that accused. You have to inform that they have been given a bail, so better not to count them, keep them aside. You have to rush to the CBI court for another, everything sometimes you have to do it. Your AOR may not be available, my dear friend. How many of course I am addressing a bigger, larger issue, what you have already discussed. Give me 1 minute more. That how a bail bond and how his bailer is produced before the court. These are the really knowledge base. And in that case, again I got the support of 2 of our best general counsel who are from women's side. I had to camp there for 6 months. They volunteered. Of course, they have been given a promotion. Rightly, they have been promoted. So, I feel not comfortable. I would say that their negotiating power is very good. Grabbing the situation, if there is a vacuum, they will try to just put herself there to just fill up the blank. So these are my some of the thought or my experience which I intend to share with you. Thank you.
Thank you, Hemant. Sandhya.
Yeah. Richa, you spoke about choices earlier, right? I mean, as a working woman with a 3-year-old daughter, I mean, there are some hygiene factors you need to take care of, right? In India, let's get practical. You have to have a good ecosystem around you, I mean, which includes your a maid and everything, whatever. So those are the hygiene factors that have to be absolutely taken care of. And if you don't have a support of your family, your husband, and an understanding boss, you just cannot march ahead. So, like you said, we have two choices. I mean, at least as a working woman with a young child, whether to go on or to quit, right? I mean, so I sort of choose to go on. Apart from the issue that Debolina spoke about, which is battling stereotypes and which, look, as women, all of us do, I'd like to sort of, open up a slightly different, question here. Do some way women also have to change? I mean, at the workplace, our quest for perfection every time, I think women want to get it right 100%. Do we have to at times let go? I've often seen, male colleagues of mine saying same questions. Who will take that up? Male colleague will just put their hand up and they'll say, I'll do it. Women, we are always doubting, can we do it? I haven't done that part of it. I don't really know that angle of it. So maybe, I think that sort of stems from, we are very true to ourselves and, we want the best intention of the organization. But the male colleagues will just put their hand up and say, I'll do it. So I feel somewhere women also have to change. We have to just let go sometimes and just say, I'll grab it, I'll do it. It's okay, I make a mistake this time, but that's fine. But obviously that will only work if the organization supports you and grooms you and gives you that confidence, which is what Debolina spoke about extensively. But I think it's important that women also, we have to change a little bit as well.
I think that's very significant because what you've pointed out, Sandhya, is that it's a two-way process. Your head of department has to be conscious about the different working styles. Is someone raising their hand because they're ambitious and enthusiastic, or are they raising their hand despite not really knowing what they're talking about? And sometimes it's a mixture of the two, as well as you and your colleagues knowing when to be more male for with the lack of a better word, without generalization. I'd like to very quickly, I think we might have to skim the second question because we're running short of time, but on this question, Sandhya, as the youngest member of the panel, you bring a completely different perspective on the challenges that are faced, which I think we would like to hear about.
So the thing is, personally, from what I have experienced, I have not faced any challenges per se because I have not reached a position where I've had to make a choice like either Debolina or Sandhya because I've not gone the family way, I'm not married. So I'm sure there will be a point of time when that situation will come. But from this side, the experience that I've had has been very neutral. I have not had an experience where I have been undermined for being a woman or given lesser opportunities because I've been a woman. But there have been situations where I know for a fact that someone has had a one-up over me because he's a man. And it's not expressed, but it's just a implied opinion that, she's a girl, so she might not be able to handle it, so let's just send him. Because we don't want her to go there alone and maybe it's unsafe for her, maybe she's not handled it yet. So irrespective of whether I think it's right or not. And on a separate note, I think it also stems from basic notions that you have about what a woman can handle and what men can handle. And like I was discussing earlier, there's this article written by this young associate in the United States about how the legal profession is a sexist profession. So, like I said, this is not my opinion, but something which I read. So, and I was a little surprised when I read it because I thought maybe the United States it's a bigger country, it's more liberal. The mindset should be ideally different, but apparently not. And not that I have faced it personally, but the whole concept of when you think of a lawyer, you're thinking of a man. That I think that's where it all starts from because you're not looking at it as something a woman can do per se. So if it begins with each of us. So like Sandhya was talking about, it's a two-way process. If you think you're confident enough to do something and if you're assertive enough, then it's an opportunity which you need to fight for more than anything else. So,
That's a very good point. As someone, practicing in New York most of my career, except for a few years in Delhi, I have actually always found it an advantage to be a woman and to be Indian and to speak with an accent, because frankly, whenever they want to show diversity, I get invited to the pitch and I get included in the team. I'm perfect. I fill like 3 of the 4 criteria. If I was in a wheelchair, I would be perfect. But I think that's what you raised, and there's also an excellent point, which is you and I are in the position where we don't have the child that needs to be picked up from school. The societal obligations are easier, and so it's an interesting question, and it sort of shows the numbers. I mean, if you look, at least in the US, whenever I negotiate a transaction, I'd say 80% of the time the associates on the other side will be women and the partners men. And so you wonder, where does the demographic change and how? And that's exactly the situation. Now we're running very short on time, so I don't want to skip the second question because I think it's very important, which is why should we change the state of play? We seem to be getting along perfectly fine. We've got, at least in India, we've got a much better representation of women in law firms, in-house positions than in Europe and America, where women have literally had to claw their way after years of being male-dominated in the profession. Why mess with it? It's not broken. And I think there's different ways to approach it. There are studies showing the number of women in Fortune 500 C-suite positions. It's something like 15% of officer positions, 15% of director positions, 16% of officer positions are filled by women. I don't have numbers for India, but I would be surprised if they weren't very different. I would like to get the panelists' views on what you think are the drivers. Why should there be more women in leadership positions? But I'd like to trick you and change what we had discussed and ask you for the answer in literally one word, which now means you have to cull all your thoughts into the top reason why you think women should be in positions of leadership. Maybe going with the same order, starting with Debolina.
If you can permit me 2 words.
I'll give you 2.
More diplomatic.
That's a good one.
According to me, the mindset is very important. You think that I can also do it. I can also I can also run Anil Ambani. I can run anybody, Mittal. So the word is the mindset. Sometimes I find that you have been given an opportunity, you sometimes grab it, or you are sometimes, I would say, that slightly hesitant in grabbing it. And then male members will come and will just take away. And another thing I just want to share with you, today, all the top promoters, there is no such difference of this diversity. There may be what you call reservation in public sector, but in private sector, they are more inclined to have women general counsel. This is the internal thing I'm sharing with you. And therefore, the big concern, they have more women general counsel than male. I'm not happy, let me tell you very frankly.
I think women focus on building longer relationships. I think that will pay off eventually. I mean, they're not there for the quick gain. I think they focus on building longer relationships.
That's interesting.
Yeah, pretty much similar to both the points. I think it will be about being kind of sensitivity. So being sensitive to not just bringing about a balance, with sensitivity and balance. I think those 2 words would be it.
What's interesting to me in the panel is that each of you have picked a skill, a different set of skills that a woman would bring to the table compared to a man. And none of you has pointed to, the studies that show better stock performance. There are actually studies in Europe and the US that show companies with more women in senior positions, their stock actually performs better. Some did better. The banks led by women did better during the financial crisis.
Richa, can I intervene?
Please.
Since you have raised the topic.
I want to know about the business case.
I mean, if I can share with the group. I hope it's not getting recorded, the organizers.
We'll delete this section.
On stock performance, I took over the General Counsel of Wockhardt in 2009 when the stock was 70. Today it is 1700. I just want to say that exactly. I'm not attributing entirely to me, but just a statistic. And on Fortune 500, yes, since you mentioned it, there were 98 women GCs in 2008. 2011, there were 108. And I think the figure in 2012, 2013 is about 117 to 118. So it's gradually increasing. People are taking more cognizance that women not only perform equal to men, but maybe better. My apologies.
I think the 700 to 1700 deserves applause.
Thank you.
Hemant.
I have already shared my views that I don't find any problem in heading women as a head of the department, and I think my male friend would not like if woman is the head of a department. When I joined the State Bank, my head HOD was woman, so I don't mind, and none of my male colleague will mind if woman is the HOD. Tomorrow you may become also HOD of some organization or the same organization.
I think we were very wise in the person we picked as our token male panelist. Sandhya.
Well, I mean, interesting you mentioned that three of us had a completely, the attributes we spoke about and the qualities that you normally associate with leadership. It's like, ambitious, forceful, quick decision making, assertive, aggression. When you ask about a woman, they're like communal, cooperative, sensitive, good team player and all of that. I think, maybe we need to redefine leadership. Maybe we need to really think about that. Maybe we need to have different role models as leaders. And I think that, there are enough statistics to prove that women in boards obviously outperform. And I think there's a Credit Suisse study as well, where after in GFC, where you had, women participation higher, they obviously came out much better during the GFC. So I guess, I think we've reached a point where we really probably need to redefine leadership, think about maybe these qualities can help and look at the longer term. Somehow companies focus on short-term results that has to change. And yeah.
I think that's a mouthful you've said right at the end is A, what are we talking about when we talk about leadership, and B, what are we talking about when we talk about performance? Is stock performance the be all and end all, or is there the more long term how you'll survive a crisis, whether you'll be around sustainability? I think that was very significant.
Yeah, actually agreeing with that. It's also about if you're talking about presence of women in the boardroom, a balance of opinion between you have obviously it goes without saying that men and women have completely different points of view about different things. So even when it comes to risk strategies and business development, both sides have very, very different ways of dealing with a particular situation. So I think having a balance in the boardroom makes the final decision a lot more, informed. Yeah.
That's a good point. Leaving aside any of the attributes, the fact that you have two perspectives will eventually. What's interesting is there was a London School of Economics professor who did a study that found that companies that were already well governed, the profits actually dropped where you had more women on the board, and companies that were badly governed, their profitability increased with the more women you have on the board. Again, no value judgment. I'm just conveying. I think all of these studies have to be taken with a pinch of salt, because what's causation and what's correlation? Is it just coincidental that the companies that pick more women in senior positions also happen to perform better, or is there a causation element? But for what it's worth, I think it's important to think consciously on why we should go about changing the numbers. The most important question, which I want to leave...
just want to add on one more dimension to it. I think, especially when it comes to risk, women have a completely different perspective to it. I think UBS, recently there was an article by the UBS chief where he said, look, the state where UBS is today is probably because we don't have women representation. And globally, if you look at it, just 5% of traders globally are women, right? I mean, men probably just take those, risks at the drop of a hat, and just what she spoke about, right? Just the balance women bring to the table from a risk perspective. I think that's very important.
Maybe LIBOR would actually have been defined concept if there were more women. I'd like to move on. I'm getting signs that we're running out of time, so I'd like to move on to the third question, which I think is actually the most significant, and which I think the audience would like to know. What should we as individuals, as well as those of us who are able to influence our organizations, what should we be doing to change things? Ritik, question?
This is not my wisdom at all. I had the benefit of listening to Mr. K.V. Kamath. Mr. Kamath has successfully grown women leaders, Chanda Kochar, Kalpana Moraparia, and someone asked him this question: how did you do it? And he said, I did three things. One is created an equal space for competition. Number two, in a very real sense, make it clear that no job is unequal. No job is unequal. And three, assessment of merit and feedback, which really ties into a lot of things that you addressed in the first question. So I just wanted to share that with everyone.
Thanks, Ritik. That's very interesting. And that actually sets the stage for us. Maybe we'll change the order and start with Sandhya this time.
Actually, taking off from that, when you're talking about, women being more obvious or more present in situations like this, if we had the whole concept of equality redefined, and equality doesn't really mean reserving seats for women on the board. Like, I don't want to be in a situation where I'm going to be in the board of a company, on the board of a company, and then be questioned for it, saying that you're not here because you're smart, you're here because it was reserved for you. So it shouldn't be a situation like that. And when you're talking about what are the action points that we need to work on, it would be about actually believing that I can do the same thing that he can, and ensuring that your boss also believes in the same thing, whether the boss is a man or a woman. For that matter, I'm sure there are instances where even as a woman boss, you might be in a situation where you might just pick the guy to do the job because you've been subjected to that. So it might just be a cycle that we need to break ourselves.
The mother-in-law syndrome.
Yeah. Something to that extent.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
Sandhya?
Look, I think there are two important flashpoints in a woman's life. One is when she gets married, and one when she has a child. I think organizations have to take an effort to step in and help them at that critical phase of their lives. Second, I think is we just need to engage the women in the organization and find what their trials and their tribulations are. I mean, we can go on about this endlessly, but first is to just look at your own networks where they can be groomed and they can be coached, offer mentoring programs, but just give them the confidence that, we believe in equal opportunity. And I think then they will automatically lift their hands up and say, look, I can do it. So,
Sandhya, can I drill down on that, just because you have been the founder of the Diversity Council in your
founder,
group?
but just one of the founding members.
One
and
of
we are
the
very
founding
new.
members.
Okay, we're very new. The bank itself is new in the country, just 2-year-old. Yeah.
So from that, are there any, you mentioned a few of them, but I'd like to drill down on that further. Specific steps that organizations can take to engage their women and to form the environment or the ecosystem, if you will, that allows them to engage with the women and get their views.
Well, I can probably talk about some practical examples that we're seeing currently. Well, we have a 3-month maternity leave policy, but we've just recently had an instance where someone had to take a longer period, right? So we just said that, look, that's okay, just go ahead and do it and work from home, but just give them those flexibility, because then they will bounce back, and like Hemant rightly pointed out, they'll contribute much more, because I feel that women have a very deep sense of loyalty to the organization. So you do it when they need it. I think the organizations have a vested interest as well at the end of the day. I mean, there to make profit. So, like I said, we had 2 examples actually where we just said, it's okay. I mean, that's probably not there in the policy, but if you need it, go ahead and do it. And so
Flexibility.
Yeah, give them the flexibility.
That's a good point.
See, in my view, I don't find any difference. Only one, my observation is that, pardon me, because this based on my wife experience, I'm sharing with you. You have to address your emotion. That is most important. Don't think that if your HOD is a male and he is, say, some sort of during discussion he has said something, not which are official discussion. Think it's your personal or something like this. Here is the problem. And then it is addressed in a different way. That should be stopped. You think that you have been given an opportunity, you grab it, do it. I have given the Shalini Sinha this example, who is now Tata Motor legal counsel. She has grabbed it. She has reached to a highest level and she is only, I think, 34, 36 years old. I have given many examples. In my 30 years of career, I have not seen any such difference either in public sector or private sector. Again, I come into the mindset. You have to change your mindset that you cannot do it. Or going to the court is a big thing. No. Rather, you can present your case better than us. And judges will also incline to hear more than what we will argue. Of course, you have that persuasive power. Everything is with you. So it is up to you to decide. Do you want to become HOD or you want to just remain as a general counsel? That's all.
Yeah, Richa, 3 things. Besides, of course, we all know how the government is taking initiative in the reservation bill and the companies bill, where for certain groups of company it's mandatory to have a woman director. But besides the law, 3 things. First, I'm apologizing to Ritwich because I'm going to take a point from what he said in his previous panel. The woman should not be just treated as good looks, so should be more than good looks. Second point is give the officer, the woman officer, the work which normally, traditionally, the male officer would do. I think that would give that extra confidence to the woman. Like, for instance, I have seen in my experience, as Hemant ji said, get her to get a bail in the middle of the night. Get her to go for a CBI trial. I think that challenging thing always gives the woman that extra cutting edge. And the contribution to the organization gets manifold. And third, last, is the feel-good factor that your office is an extended home. Because, women, we are chemically as well as emotionally different from men. And there is no two opinion about it. So if you give that feel-good factor, that office is an extended home, then I'm sure the performance of the woman would again be manifold. And that finally, I would just say as a conclusive point, we've all read the famous story of Miller and the donkey, who always crossed the stream. The donkey crossed the stream with the salt on his back. And very conveniently, he fell. And when he was carrying the salt, it became lighter. And one day the miller put the sponge. And when the sponge fell, it became very heavy. So let's not make the woman the sponge. Let's make the woman the salt.
That's an excellent conclusion to the panel. I want to leave some time for questions because there's several controversial things that have come out, including reservation, clause 149 of the companies bill, reservation generally. There's
independent director.
Independent director, yes. Exactly. Or the woman representative independent director, and who knows who will be the prescribed companies
yes.
that will apply to, as well as whether it is loyalty, whether it is specific times of a woman's career that this needs to be, where the distinction between your male and female employees need to be kept in mind. So I'd like to open it up, see if anyone wants to drill on these controversial points.
Hi, my name is Nabil Salim. I'm the General Counsel for CLP India, which is a power company. So, I have, and I used to have more, women lawyers in my team. Now, one of the challenges that I face, when recruiting is, will my, female colleague actually go to a remote location and work there? I'm not for an extended duration, but for a very short time. Because we're a power company, we have projects in godforsaken places. We may have to actually deal with a lot of, low-level bureaucracy as well. So, one side of me actually tells me, okay, you have to give that challenge to that colleague. The other side tells me, should I be actually, putting her through that, through that challenge, because, that will be actually probably putting her in danger, safety. So what do I do? And what's your take on this?
If I can actually add on to that question, because a related point is the impact of globalization, as most of your companies are global, and the same question can come up. Do I give this promotion to a woman, although it will imply her having to move to Singapore, and, will that affect her children's school, her husband's job, etc.? So the question of mobility and necessarily giving that woman the choice or not.
Who is taking
I think that, again, it's HOD duty to divide the job structure, job responsibility. That is very important. Like, when you decide the team for litigation, for contract management, for IPR. So same principle you have to apply here also. If you find that this group may not be able to contribute or help you after duty hours, say after 5:30 or 6:30, then you have no option but to rely on your other colleague. Otherwise, there is no ready-made answer of your problem. And everywhere, say USA starts say after 8 or 9 p.m. We do face the same problem. So, we have a structure our department in such a way that suppose in the morning it starts with 9:30 or 10:30. The time is that you come at 10:30 and then remain there for 9:30 p.m. or 10 p.m. like this. So you have to structure like this. And many of the organizations, they have that duration, flexibility in coming and going.
Yeah. If I may just add to that, this is, your response, Ms. Partap, to actually give them the challenge.
Yes.
At times, it's a difficult challenge, but then, if you don't give that challenge, then, you're not really, giving her the opportunity to actually grow.
I'll just answer with an experience of mine personally. This is when I was in the banking sector. For 13 years I was working in a banking sector. And the last promotion I got there, I was promoted to Zonal Legal Head, Southern Zone in IDBI. And my ED Legal called me and said, Debolina, this is it, now you have to go. I hope you're going. I said, yes, sir, I'm going. Then he looked at me. And he said, your promotion won't be effective until you go. I said, yes, I know the policies of the bank. But you have a 2-year-old son. What do you do? I'll go. This is the bank's policy. I've got promoted. I have to go. So he said, okay, go. I went. I stayed there for 2 years. And let me be very honest, it was very difficult for me to manage my husband and son in Bombay and me at Chennai and Bangalore. And that's where the question of Sandhya has come, the choice. And I made the choice. And see from where to where I went. From banking to pharmaceutical. But the challenge, you must give the challenge to the lady, because that challenge helped me to grow as a legal professional much more.
In a faster way.
In a faster way. And that also helped me in my career henceforth.
If I could add to that, I think one of you mentioned that this also depends on the fact that when you're marrying someone, that's also a career choice at the end of the day. So if your partner is not going to be supportive of it, then it would have been a really difficult choice. You wouldn't have been able to make a choice at all. it wouldn't have been a choice at all, yeah. So I guess that's something which I'll have to keep in mind.
I think Richard goes to the fundamental that if you want an educated society, you must educate the woman. It's the fundamental across the globe.
I have a different take on this. I think companies need to think differently as well. We just think that, okay, there's a regional role, you go to Singapore. Why can't I do the same job sitting here? I could probably do it sitting here. Do you really have to disrupt the whole cycle? Because recently we had, I think it was the Capgemini CEO, she's a lady, Aruna Jayanti. We invited her to be one of the speakers for our diversity council. So apparently she headed the entire European business and everything sitting out of Mumbai. So, I mean, maybe, you have to strike a balance. Companies need to think differently. Like I said, there are certain flashpoints in a woman's life. Companies need to step in and probably help. Maybe it's just a limited, maybe you just need that 1 year, right? But then help them out. Let her work out of Mumbai. Maybe she's able to do it, or travel occasionally to Paris or wherever it is. Take late conference calls, but she can be with her 2-year-old. So, I think, it has to work both ways.
It's interesting. 4 panelists, we've got 4 views. Do the rational choice. Take the risk, give the woman the chance. Think outside the box, make it work. Sandhya, what was your point? I've forgotten.
About the partner.
About whether she in her specific situation can do it or not. And I have a 5th point to add to that, because these are questions that have n number of answers. Give her the choice. Let her decide. There's another question at the back.
Is it fair to really offer certain things? Because I also had a department, I have a team of 4 people. Don't people know that there's something I can, somebody just, whoever volunteers, for me what is important is I always see the fire. For me, it really doesn't matter, and this is a question to the audience at large. Would you offer it to somebody who shows interest and the appetite and the willingness, or do you really want us to carry it to you? Hearing from some of you, Sandhya, you said that you have to, just show that fire inside you and your ability to grab the opportunity. So I really had this difference of opinion. Should it always be offered, or is it for? I'm sure most of the general counsels, if you have men or women, you really don't look at that. For me, if they are my peers and my colleagues, whoever shows the will and the grit takes it. So I would just want to leave it there. Is it always to be offered, or is it for the other person to show that he's ready?
If I can add one more layer to that question, since I love to put my finger in every pie. Question 1, do you offer, or do you wait for it to be, do you offer it to the person who waits, or do you send it to the person who proactively reaches out for it? And the second question is, how do you interpret who is reaching out and who is eager but not reaching out? Panel, please.
My take on this would be in which system you're working. It's very important. Because if the system encourages to exhibit offer, then yes. But if the system does not encourage, then, you just can't be offering. It doesn't go well. So, and, across the globe, the systems are very different. Like Sandhya, Vishal spoke of a system where, the company should think differently. There is a system which, propagates that. But there are so many systems which don't propagate that. So it all depends in which system you're working. I think interpreting and offering to do a job which is out of box and waiting to be told to do the job which is out of box is very much environment driven. And yes, you need to be that, again, I go back to my first bullet point. You must be more than perfect to put your company into that situation which gives you that opportunity. Let's, not transfer her and let's put her, let her handle the entire work from where she is. And also, puts the general counsel or respects or puts her in that position where, she encourages or he encourages the offer from the others. So you really need to be that more than perfect to put the system in that situation. That's my take on your question.
In my way, it's sometimes, situation based. That you have no option, but to impose that you have to do it. of course, there may be situations when you can just ask 2, 3, 4 of your colleagues that who is like to take off. But there may be critical situation where you have to impose. So again, I would say there is no ready-made answer of this. It depends on how your structure is, what are your businesses, and who is capable of doing it. Say, there may be a guy who is very strong in IPR. She has been dealing IPR for the last 10 years. And now the subject is also IPR. I'm inclined to give this work to her only. So again, it depends on the subject, situation. That's all. This is my answer.
We've overshot our time by far, but maybe a quick input from the Sandhya's as well.
I'd like to fundamentally sort of correct myself. I said women have to sort of, put their hands up. But that's because I believe no one else is going to fight your battle. Right? So first of all, first up, no one's going to fight a battle. So maybe we need to take that extra step and say, I will do it. That's because I believe that equal platform or the opportunity doesn't exist today. Right? So that's the fundamental sort of correction I'd like to make, in the whole discussion that we've been having. So I think there's a popular saying that, if you do it, you're doomed. If you don't, you're damned. That's the thing about, women, I think, so. They obviously, I feel they have to always take that extra step and probably shout twice as louder than men have to. Sorry. True, that's my view.
No wrong answer on this panel.
I guess that will be a start more than anything else if we can at least get to a position where you know that women are going to respond to those offers made, that they are confident that, the company is also going to help them if they need any help at that particular point in time to act on that offer. That would probably encourage women to take up more opportunities as well. So not just women who are married, but even single women who might have other, commitments in the place without having to move out. Something to that extent.
If I can add to that as well, picking from my life and my work, invariably I will have, in terms of negotiating a contract, the partner that I do most of my work with is a man. I'm a woman, as you may have noticed. Just clarifying. The short hair confuses people sometimes. If the contract is at the last stages, and I know this because we've done this n number of times, contract is the last stages, there's 20 open issues left, I think 9 out of 10 times we'll come out to the same number of issues that we negotiate in favor of our clients. His style of negotiation is very different. It's very tuck, 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 tuck. This is why we need to do this. This is why. And he gets it there. And mine is very, end of the day, the company has to prosper. It must be a successful merger. We must get to the same place. We're playing on the same team, which is nonsense, of course, we're not. But I think I get to the same point in terms of reducing the open issues in favor of my client. So I think it's also a question of who is asking for that responsibility and how are they asking for it. And I think there's a little bit of recognition that men and women essentially may get to the same point, but in different ways. Just to conclude, because I know we're out of time, I know there's several more questions, but I'd request you to take them to the panelists offline. I think the most significant contribution to this panel actually came from the organizers by putting this panel onto this day's agenda. I think that really, it comes down to, are we thinking proactively? Are we just, is it business as usual, or are we thinking proactively about our male and female colleagues, thinking about the distinctions and having the distinction and the differences front and center of our mind as we're making our decisions? I think kudos to the organizers for putting this on.